everybody. Fascinating discussion today on pushing the boundaries of conversational and hybrid AI with a true innovator in this space. Teneo, Per, how are you?
Excellent. Thank you for having us, Evan. I'm very happy to
Well,
be
it's good
here.
to have you back. You've been busy since we've last spoken, to say the least. Before that, let's do some introductions for listeners, viewers new to Teneo.ai. What's the big idea?
Well, the big idea is that the landscape is changing in two ways. One is there's LLMs now, but you can't just use LLMs. You need to use LLMs and deterministic or probabilistic and deterministic tech, which is, of course, what we've been doing. And then we've broken apart Teneo in Teneo 8 with lots of new functionality, but also public APIs. So you can essentially integrate Teneo into your contact center solution. And as we've seen, the contact center providers are fighting it out right now. Everybody's AI here, AI there. Well, they all need some working AI there as well, I think. So that's a big idea we have right now, to also be able to integrate Teneo into other solutions.
And you've had a huge release, Teneo 8. Maybe you can give us a snapshot of what's new, what's changed, maybe a little bit of what's ahead.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, the biggest part of Teneo 8 is we are now delivering for a Mag 7. They have 10 million inbound phone calls. We automate 9.1 million of them.
Wow.
So brilliant work from their side in the setup of this, right? We don't implement, but Teneo, of course, enables this. And that's across 46 languages. And the way that this worked was they built it all in English. And then with Teneo 8, there's new functionality where you essentially use our language objects, so our pre-developed languages, which we have roughly 90 of, I think.
Wow.
And you use that together with LLMs, and then boom, you just deploy in another language. And it takes about 2 weeks to really fine-tune it and get it really well done in other languages. So they went from English to 40 odd languages over a weekend. So very happy with that. And just imagine, I mean, if you're a US-based company and you're going into another country, well, you need to get an office, you need to get a contact center, you need to get employees, you need to train them. No, you don't anymore. Now since we automate 91%, the other 9%, you could just simply route back to the US. So yeah, I'm really, really proud of that. There's other stuff like the AI agent builder. There's stuff like deferred annotations. We don't have to go immediately to the model, which is quite expensive and also takes a lot of time, right? So that's important as well. So the other thing, we're blending now the LLM and the probabilistic and the deterministic. So think of it this way. I'm an insurance company and you're calling in and you want to get a policy. Now there's some facts I need to get out of you, but there's also a conversation to be had, which you usually would have with the human, which would be, chatty. Well, now you can have that chatty conversation within LLM, but at the same time, Teneo running the business process and picking out the intents and the deterministic content to make sure that we understand, yeah, okay, you divorced, that doesn't really impact this. And, I just moved houses. Oh, that's something that impacts. We need to know that. So you can have a long form conversation in all these different business process steps in an LLM way, which people love. And you could use voices like 11 Labs and all this new stuff that's coming out. That's really, really good. And you can get a really nice interaction with the customer. So Teneo 8 really, but then the big thing is the public API. I still think that that's the biggest new thing for us, is that you can now use Teneo in the background, right? So you're building your application, you can build Teneo engine into it, that engine that can power millions of phone calls and automate them.
There's so much to unpack, and we're going to dive into that. But at a high level, how does the release move the needle for enterprises already using some form of conversational AI, maybe legacy, maybe new, maybe good, maybe bad? How can they work with you?
Well, most customers, as I would say, all customers use something already, but surprisingly many still have a DTMF, a IVR, where you go press 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Which just puts the cognitive load on you, and that's the easy one to replace, and that's Nuance, which is end of life anyway, right? So we work a lot with Genesis. It's a great contact center, really, really powerful and scalable. And with Genesis, they used to have Nuance in most of their customers. Either they sold it or somebody else sold it to the customer. So that's the easiest one. But then, of course, there's others. You've implemented Dialogflow. You have some problems scaling that, etc. So we can sit on top of that, as we do, for example, at at HelloFresh, for example, where we're doing
Mm.
that on top of Google Dialogflow. So we can do that too. And we also have a very large implementation now we're working on where Dialogflow is doing parts of the job and we're doing the other parts of the job. So that works too. The ones we probably don't work that much with is the Cognigies and the Course, etc. But we do have a lot of integrations to Microsoft,
Mm.
Amazon, Google, those large ones, which we always see in the enterprise space.
We have so many amazing customers. I'm reading here on your website, one in particular, Medtronic, a super impressive company, very impressive story. Walk us through what you built with them, for them, and the kind of impact it had.
Yeah, they've been building themselves, right? So Mike there is an impressive individual who's been able to build a team around him and also deliver some really, really good outcomes. They have a Virtue Earl. So Earl is the founder of the pacemaker. So they have Virtue Earl to be their virtual assistant across many different channels. And of course, they had Ketone, Touchpad, IVR. They had all the stuff, all the good stuff before. And they've been able to, on a nice contact center, build out this assistant across many different things, anything from diabetes to pacemakers. You can now be serviced with a virtual agent 24/7 instead of having wait to go to your doctor to talk about, if you have a question about your device and so forth. And the most interesting thing is that they really measured impact, and of course they have cost savings, but they also have revenue impact here. So they're seeing increased revenue. And most importantly, I think, is that they measured CSAT and the customer satisfaction. And this is not transaction NPS, which we have had customers measure before, right? Immediately after the call. This is actual CSAT taking into account this new virtual assistant. And it's up 8 percentage points. It's not up 8%, it's up 8 percentage points, which is quite strong for a something that actually saves you money. So yeah, they're a very, very, very good user of the platform. But they're building it all themselves, as do most of our customers. I mean, most customer, that Mag 7 customer, they're saving upwards of more than $20 million a month on this project.
Wow.
But it's really being built by 3 people. So it's a very small project team that is having massive impact on the bottom line there.
Fantastic. And speaking of bottom lines and industries under pressure, healthcare, particularly here in the US, but elsewhere, under a lot of pressure to deliver increase patient satisfaction, reduce costs. Also, one of the most regulated industries out there. How do you innovate responsibly in that kind of environment?
Well, I think it's really you have to have that connection between the AI and the human. So as soon as the AI detects something that the human should be picking up, that's incredibly important to be able to be attuned to. So you can't have you really need to understand everything that the customer is calling about. Not every word, right? We're not talking transcription. You need the content of it. So the actual intent, the entities, etc., or what they're calling about. And if it is something that needs human attention, you need to have humans on the line very quickly, right? Without any delays.
Yeah, that's super important. You mentioned collaboration with Genesis, but also others. You've got strong partnerships with so many players in the industry, and the API presents a tremendous opportunity for additional collaboration. How do they shape what's possible for customers with Teneo 8? What does it mean for your go-to-market?
Well, I think the way Teneo works, it really scales very high. So that means we've been focused on the very largest customers, right? So all our customers are million plus months per phone call. So that's just the nature of it, because that's where we excel the most. So what we see now is we can now then put this in, and we're having discussions with contact center providers. They might have hundreds or tens of thousands of customers, but each customer just has 5 or 6 seats in the contact center. And this way we can now consolidate all those smaller customers with one vendor. So that vendor will take Teneo as a white label, they'll stick it in their product, and now you can give the same effect to somebody who has like 5 people picking up the phone. They can now get 24/7 support, which they probably don't have. And they can add all the good stuff that the large companies have, but at a much better price, because you develop it once and deploy to many. So that's what we really see with this public API. That's gonna change it. The other thing that we see now with agents is that we also use the agent builder in Teneo as an integration engine. And that's also quite important because if you are a small company today and you have five seats picking up the phone, you're going to have agents calling you, AI agents calling you, right? So we now set up so that if you don't have integration to all your backends, so let's say you work with UPS, they were in the news now, right? That you saw they were up 12% based on a great quarterly report. But if you're UPS and you don't have an API access to them, which you don't if you're a small company, you can have your AI agent in Teneo call UPS for the customer about their package, get back to the customer and call the customer, WhatsApp the customer with, yeah, your package is in the truck, it's going to be delivered today. So you're going to be able to provide the service instead of saying to the customer, hey, get in queue with UPS, you can now let the AI agent do it. And that's something I really think is going to change a lot for smaller companies. And you need an AI agent to pick up the phone too, because Evan is now going to have 5 agents working for him all day. So you better have somebody pick those up.
What a brave new world, really shaking up the traditional contact center industry, to
Right.
say the least. And how is AI changing, the role for human agents? What does human in the loop mean to you? What does your philosophy kind of look like in practice?
And so we have 2 types of human in the loop. We have the reinforcement learning where Teneo sits on top of any LLM conversation that I spoke about, right? But then, of course, we also have the humans. And what you see is that the satisfaction for those working where the AI agent does all the, finds out who are you, what's your invoices, what's your customer status, all that stuff, gets all over the system and then serves that to you. So those few percentage calls that actually are not automated have a much better SAT and a much better employment satisfaction. But obviously there's fewer people working in that space, which means if you look at the churn, customers have pretty much 35% churn in the contact center. So it just takes a year or two and you've already reduced the contact center quite a lot. And the people who are staying are the experienced ones that you can lift now to L3 and so forth. So we view AI first and then human. We don't view it as AI serving the human in the contact center, right? So it's slightly different. And agent assist is to us, that's a bit like a hybrid car instead of an electric car. You're all going to go electric at one point. Why start with lugging around a petrol engine and a battery at the same time? That makes no sense. So we don't think that's just an unnecessary step.
Well said. And you have so many success stories. And yet, in AI, in conversational AI, there are a lot of failed implementations, failed trials. What do most enterprises sort of underestimate when they start their AI kind of transformation journey?
The biggest thing I can say from my experience, and I've been in this industry now for 14 years, if it looks simple in an hour, it's going to fail in a month.
Wow.
So if you like
Say
it when
that
you open
again.
it
When
up,
it looks simple in an hour, it's going to fail in a month. I haven't heard that one before.
so if you take like all these like AI Studio in Azure or something, that's something you can open up and it's very workable or lovable. All these things that look so easy. So the CFO can now build a solution and just get rid of the contact center. That's just not going to happen, right? You need competent people. You need linguists. You need AI people and programmers. But if it looks really, really simple to build, that is not a product that's going to scale with you. And we see this quite a lot now where people are trying their, building on, I call it lipstick on a pig. You take the LLM and you build a prompt, and then you put a graphical interface on the prompt, and you sell this as the greatest solution since sliced bread. But the thing is, it doesn't scale because there's so many edge cases. There's so many enterprise-grade things. You need HIPAA, you need SOC, you need ISO, you need confidential compute, i.e. encryption also in memory. I mean, it's just virtually impossible to do that with any lipstick on an LLM model. You really need a solid background. And it's going to look more complicated. So in that first instance, it's going to look a lot more complicated than drag and drop nice bubbles and stuff. But it's going to pay off in the long run.
Yeah, and speaking of payoff, I mean, the payoffs are sort of obvious: cost savings, faster resolutions. But when you have to get the CFO to sign off on a investment, how do you measure the real value of AI and CX? Is it more than just the obvious savings?
Well, I think that CSAT number is incredibly important. So
Mm,
if you can increase the revenue 1%, that's much more impactful than reducing the cost in the contact center, right? Because the contact center
Right.
is still a small percentage of your total
Mm.
cost. So leaving those difficult calls to humans, but having all that information flow, having persistent memory in the AI agent, etc., that just helps humans feel appreciated because they like the fact that a simple answer, like let's just say, hey, oh, I had that problem today. I was at a hotel last week and I still didn't get the invoice on my to my email. Now, obviously, they misspelled my name, of course, right? So I had to call them and recall them several times. Very difficult to get a hold of, etc., etc. That's the type of stuff that you just want a bot to pick up the phone. I give them my mail address. I say which room it was when I checked out, and they just send the bill, right? Very, very simple stuff. That's the type of stuff humans want to do there. And then they're very satisfied as a customer because they get that resolution quickly. And that's how you increase your revenue. I mean, who are you going to choose? Let's take health insurance in the US. There's 5-6 really large players. How much are they spending on Super Bowl versus getting rid of those phone queues and those problems that are sitting there in the queues? I think Super Bowl ads are great, but a small project like this is going to save you money and give you a really good CSAT. So I think it's the revenue side really. And then you can't ignore the fact that if you have 10 million calls today, you're going to have 40 million calls tomorrow. There was an article in The Economist today about how AI agents are now taking out what they call the scam economy, i.e. meaning, if you're going to buy a car, the AI agent's going to find the best price for you. There's no room for people that think, Evan doesn't understand the car business. I'm just gonna hike the price for him. There's no room for that in the AI agent world. So there's going to be AI agents everywhere. I mean, I don't know if you've tried the latest OpenAI browser.
I use it every day. I'm using it now as we speak.
I mean, I let it log into pages where it can't buy stuff for me, right? But stuff where I research, for example, stuff, absolutely fantastic. It's just brilliant because it does the work for me. I just prompt it and tell it, go to this site, log in, find me this. It
No,
summarizes
it's an
most
amazing
brilliant
time
thing.
to be in tech for sure. And there are also new channels emerging for service support and more, from WhatsApp to iMessage and beyond. But they're often siloed. My voice conversations are completely separate from any messaging SMS conversations. How do you think about blending these together for a more unified experience?
I personally hate chat, right? If there's a chat bot on the site, I'll more often than not just close it down.
Mm,
I don't want to deal with chat, right? Because they're always limited in their functionality.
mm.
So I don't believe that chat is a good interface. But all the others that you mentioned, we obviously do chat too. But Omni-channel is incredibly important, and we use now a lot WhatsApp, specifically for some parts of the US or some what do you call it, language zones of the US, like the Spanish speaking
Mm,
people in the US, they like WhatsApp. So we then have WhatsApp as a confirmation. So you
mm.
speak, but then you can send a summary to WhatsApp. But you can also then respond back to the WhatsApp because we have the persistent memory in Teneo. So that resides in Teneo, or if the customer chooses to reside somewhere else. But Teneo can always get to that conversation that we just had. So I think that's very important. We see iMessage, WhatsApp quite a lot. Don't see traditional SMS that much. Maybe that's also because we're mostly in the US, right? We're a very, very large proportion of our revenue is in the US, and in the US, there's not that many Android phones. It's not a big, thing, right? People
And
have the
indeed,
blue bubbles.
I think RCS is opening things up as well. So interesting opportunities for more conversational dialogues. So you're leaning in so far into the future. I dare not ask you like what's next, Teneo 9. But what's on your radar in terms of where you see Teneo and conversational AI going in the next year or two?
So the big thing that we're just about, so let's say that's in the roadmap for the beginning of next year, is where you no longer go through text, right? So you go voice.
Mm,
So essentially letting the LLM have the conversation and the text transcription and all the systems of record get updated and the APIs are text-based still, but you have a voice conversation with Teneo as a sort of the parent in the room, making sure that you're saying
mm,
the right thing going both ways. We believe that that's something that's going to come at the tail end of next year. Obviously, the tech is there. The question is how mature are enterprises to go that route. It also has compliance issues. You're not going to have transcription, but you're going to have the so what Teneo provides is always the understanding of the call, right? So you have that in the database, so you could go back to that. But in some industries, you need the actual transcription. So let's say that you have a business transaction with a bank, you're going to need the actual transcription for compliance purposes. So I'm not sure where that's going to hit. I don't think healthcare and banking, but I do think the telcos, which is also our biggest group. We have software and telcos, our biggest customer groups. I think they're going to go voice during next year. So I see that coming quite strong. No longer going through the text mode.
Interesting. I think you call that kind of hybrid AI. Is that a buzzword, or what does it really mean, do you
Well, we
think?
started using hybrid AI, but I've seen it pop up everywhere,
Mm.
in all sorts of places. I actually I saw it on All In, the podcast. Shamat was talking about how you can't do probabilistic AI in the enterprise, right? So the LLM-based, transformer-based is always probabilistic. You have to have deterministic as well. And he started saying hybrid AI as well. But I don't think we invented it, but we've been using it since beginning of the summer. We think that's definitely a trend, right? That people now realize that, those LLM probabilistic things didn't quite work out the way we wanted.
Mm.
Like there's so many failed projects. I mean, it's
Yes, it's fine for making fun Sora videos, but beyond that, mission critical, not so much. So where can folks meet you, see you, say hello, or otherwise over the next couple months?
well, Genesis in Paris. The experience in Paris is in 3 weeks from now. That's a
Mm.
great place to meet up with us. We were at the Genesis in Nashville at the beginning of this year. Always good to be together with Genesis. It's like I said, from a contact center perspective, there's many contact centers that do not
Mm.
scale to millions of phone calls,
Mm.
but certainly Genesis have been in that industry for a long time. So that's one of them. That's probably the best place in the near term now to get to meet up with us.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on the launch and of Teneo 8 and all the success. Onwards and upwards, pair.
Fantastic, Evan. Always good to be here.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for listening, watching, and sharing. And also check out our companion TV show, TechImpact.tv, now on Bloomberg and Fox Business. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Bear.
Thank you, Evan.